right, so we are going live to YouTube first, and it looks like that is live.
YouTube.
Come on now, where's my picture? There we go. All right, so that's good. And then now going live to Facebook. Okay, so Facebook should be up now, so you can share that. So I just gotta test the sound and connect the chat, and we'll be good to go.
Oh, come on, Kate.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
So we want to welcome anyone who might be joining the stream here. The show will be starting very shortly here. We got really interesting subject matter today. We're talking about deaths in the Hennepin County Jail that have been happening to a lot of inmates in custody. And it costs our city a lot of money and a lot of heartache. So, good information. Please share it with any of your friends and spread the word. We'll be starting shortly.
We is about to be live.
All right. We're getting it up. This is going to be a great show today. Bringing up some important points about some things and concerns that have happened to come in from community members, and we decided to make sure that everyone knew about it.
And let's see. Okay, guys, 10 seconds.
We about to be live and direct. On Facebook near you. We is about to be live, y'all. Stay tuned for a fabulous show. Cause here we go.
And guys, the show is all yours whenever you are ready.
All right. Welcome. Hello, everybody, on another fabulous Wednesday of Let's Talk About It. Another kind of chilly, mild, cool, brisk, fall day, whatever you might want to call it. But, man, as usual, we just got so many different things to kind of talk about. We kind of getting a little bit of a late start. Maybe we might be able to kind of get the door shut, if we can, please. And thank you. But, again, as you guys know, that this is a grassroots campaign for Joseph Banks's campaign as he seeks election for Hennepin County Sheriff. Again, as you know, it is extremely important for you to get involved, right, in your community so you can have some input on the outcome. We know that public safety is the community's number one priority right now. We have so many different things kind of going on when it comes to our public safety, and you have the voice to get things changed. When Joe gets into the seat of Hennepin County Sheriff, he will report directly to you, the people. There's no other agendas as far as Republican or Democrat or anything like that there. He has a plan, and that plan involves you, the people. Trust me when I say that. But I know that there's so many different things that we need to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Joe real quick, so then therefore he can take care of some housekeeping things, and then therefore we can just dive right on in there.
All right, guys. All right. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Let's Talk About It. As you know, on this show, we talk about things that are affecting the community, and you get a chance to know me, and I get a chance to know you. But most importantly, you, the community, are the voice here at this show. We're going to be talking about issues that have been brought to my attention and things that have come to light. So make sure that we chime in. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you hit us in the inbox, or you can give us a phone call. You can reach us on YouTube or Facebook. Also, remember, there's no such thing as a bad question, right? So just respect everyone's answers and be respectful about your questions. Next thing is we start every show off with that backpack, right?
That backpack.
Start, middle, and end it with the backpack. And that backpack consists of make sure you got your driver's license before you get in that vehicle. Make sure you have that insurance as well. Place them above the visor. Make sure they're easily accessible. So if stopped by law enforcement, you know exactly where they are, and they won't be confused for you reaching for a weapon. As always, let the officer go through his spiel and make it home to your loved ones. Same thing if walking down the street. Make sure you got your ID or driver's license where it's easily accessible. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Let the officer go through his spiel, stay calm, and as always, make it home to your loved ones.
Absolutely. And I will just kind of elaborate on that a little bit, as I always do. When you are being pulled over, please make sure that you are parked, if you can, in a lighted area, making sure that your car is turned off, making sure that your inside dome light and things of that nature is on, so you and your hands and everybody in the vehicle can easily be seen. Keep their hands where they can be seen, and make sure that you are telling the officer or officers, if you are have a permit to carry, and if you have your weapon on you and where it is, and so on and so forth. So then, therefore, hopefully there is no accidents. All right, there's no issues or concerns with that. Listen to what the officers have to say, repeat what it is that they have to say. So then, therefore, you and that officer has a full understanding of what it is he or she wants you to do prior to making any affirmative movements. So again, I just want to say also that voting is right around the corner. Remember, no vote is a vote. So please do yourself a favor and making sure that you get out and vote. Was it November 8th?
Correct.
November 8th is voting in person. Now, they have already started the early absentee voting.
Right. Early voting has started September 23rd. We'll go through November 7th. And then after that, the general election November 8th. If you haven't registered, last night at midnight was the last chance to get early registered, but you still have the ability to register while placing your vote at the on-site locations.
Absolutely. And please make sure that if you choose to do so, yet you're leaving yourself enough time, because mail has not been so rapid
right.
as it once was, for whatever the reason, right? But again, leaving yourself at least a good 5 to 7 days in order for your ballot to kind of get in and be counted, so on and so forth. So, brother, there's always so many different things, that's happening, out here in our community. Things that it might seem that we are hanging our hat on somebody else's shortcomings, if you will. Again, that is not our intent here. We want to make sure that we are educating, empowering, and enhancing you, the people. Please, if you want to kind of chime in, feel free to do so. If you want to come on down and be a part of the show, please feel free to do so. If you want us to kind of come to you, please contact us at the information that we will provide you throughout the show, and we will definitely make that happen as well. But one of the real big topics that have been kind of coming up in the last couple of community conversations that you have been at, a lot of the conversations that we have been having with those in the community is the in-custody deaths that have been happening within Hennepin County. Mm-hmm. Some folks even kind of consider, these in-custody deaths as homicides, by law enforcement. And they're looking for a lot more transparency. they're looking for answers. As you stated before, they want to be treated like people, right? But can you elaborate? Because there's been like I said, so many different conversations and various different stories out there of patterns. I believe there's been 4 that have been lost their lives in custody within the current administration.
Yeah. There's been, with the most recent one happening this past July, these in custody deaths continue to draw concern from the citizens. We did a forum out in Richfield, which was a really good forum, as a matter of fact, myself and candidate Major Witt. And a gentleman from the audience stood up and asked a question about those deaths, and we have just a little tiny bit of that. Can we cue that up?
Just need a second on that, Joe. Sorry,
Okay.
I had to adjust those cameras.
As he is kind of queuing that up, I want to say that it is very important. I know that there's an investigation, right? There's always an investigation to be done, right? And either way, the jail has to inform, the next of kin.
Right. Right.
But within that investigation, I think that is where some of the question, from what we're hearing, is coming into play.
The transparency is the major concern that we have here because of the language that's being utilized. Person found unresponsive, transported, life-saving measures given, things of that nature. And so we liken that to the concern that it draws in families now, because we know there was similar language used in the George Floyd situation. There was similar language, transported to the hospital, passed away on the way to the hospital from altercation that led up to. And then after seeing the Floyd video, we noticed and determined that Floyd had actually expired, passed away there at the scene. So that is a huge piece in terms of transparency for the community to make sure that the language actually matches up to the facts at hand. And so a lot of folks are asking questions about what is being done for in-custody deaths. Why can't the community know more? Why aren't we coming back to them with what was the cause of death? What was the final outcome of the investigation? Was the jail actually cleared? Was there any wrongdoing?
Absolutely. And again, I tend to believe that this, again, is the old playbook that law enforcement has been using for quite some time when they're attempting to not be forthcoming, with the necessary information that community members, family members, et cetera, are deserving of, basically. And this is what, the Joseph Banks campaign, is going to get rid of. We are going to get rid of that old playbook. And this is why he is going to have, not only an outside entity look at various things that happen within his own, administration, right? In order to have that true transparency, but he is also going to attach a deputy, to the other 36 municipalities within the county to ensure that when they too have various issues and concerns, that we are obtaining this information in as much live time and real time as we possibly can. Now, we understand that situations will occur, right? But how can we minimize those situations? Now, there's when individuals kind of come in and they're up under some type of mental health concerns, or they've kind of come in and they're having some type of issues and concerns up under some type of narcotic. I know that there's a system as far as them being seen by the nurse and so on and so forth, and placed on some type of medical watch that every so often, whether that's 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it is, that they are being supposed to be seen or visited by someone, from within that jail to determine if this person's situation has gotten better and or worse, and if it's gotten worse, what is the necessary steps to take to ensure that this person is receiving the type of treatment, that he or she deserves, right? Because it does not make any sense, for a person to come into a jail on one particular day and then they're complaining and or the jail knows of existing or pre-existing circumstances, and then here we are 24 hours later and now this person is unresponsive, and then you get again that old playbook that he or she was unresponsive and transported to the jail, transported to the hospital, and then that's where this individual has transpired.
Yes, and in some cases where the investigation determined that folks were basically fudging the books, right? So they were looking at the books and they didn't match up to the video. They were saying they did checks and they actually didn't. And supposedly Hennepin County has put in place a policy to add a position, a sergeant that's responsible for making sure that video matches up to the reports. And but the question begs itself is, with that in place and the change of from 30 minutes to 25-minute checks, how do we now here in this past July have yet again another death? Right?
Absolutely.
So this is very concerning because people are checking in or being booked into this jail, and are being carried out in aspects after coming in there full of life. And family members are concerned. We've spent a lot of money in lawsuits since 2015, at least in lawsuits to actually take care of these families for the loss of their loved ones. And as you know, no amount of money can really, replace the folks who have passed away. But again, we've spent an additional $13 million in settlements.
Absolutely.
Right. So I mean, this is costing the county money. It's costing families their loved ones. All right, and we really have to dig into it because these last 4 deaths occurred on this administration alone. Right. The concern is though, it's continued pattern of behavior, right? Unfortunately, Sheriff Hutch has been gone since late to early May, and so then that leaves that under Major Witt's command under her administration. Still, we have yet again an additional death, and now that's not throwing her under the bus, but she is at this point the person in charge of the jail. So it does beg itself for someone to come forward and do a little bit more clarification as to what's really happening inside the jail to prevent these deaths. Are we holding folks accountable? Now, in some of those instances where folks were found to be falsifying log sheets in terms of checks on folks, what kind of actions did we actually take to hold those folks accountable? What have we done to prevent that from happening outside of just monitoring the videos? What are we doing to actually make sure that people are getting checked on properly, that are getting proper medical assistance? If we're getting people that are coming in there that appear to be in crises, why are we taking them into the jail and not referring them to medical services?
Absolutely. Well, I will say this here before we queue up that video, $13 million, and I know that this has been over a stretch of 10 years, roughly, but that's still a lot of money.
It's a little over $1 million a year.
Absolutely. Okay. And with that being said, that's a lot of community programming that we can be putting out there, again, for the people, for these youth, a lot of prevention type stuff that we can be doing out here in this community to help educate, empower, and enhance the quality of life across the board. So we can go ahead and cue up that video, please.
But how aggressive would you be about police murders that occur inside the jails? Do you think you could be impartial? Because I didn't bring my stats with me, but I think there's been 7 deaths in Hennepin County Jail that were never publicized. And how were you guys involved with that?
And we'll start with former Chief Banks and then Major Witt.
Okay, so I think I would definitely be on top of that. The biggest thing is this: when people are incarcerated, we're responsible for their safety. Most importantly, the families want to know what happened to their loved ones. It's important that we have a transparent investigation. I would definitely have an outside agency taking a look at that to make sure that we had a fresh set of clean eyes on that and that we're keeping people informed every step of the way. Now, it is an investigation, so there will be limited information, but we will do our best to be clear on exactly what's happening.
And Major Witt?
So I'm going to clarify. There have been 0 murders in the Hennepin County Jail. There have not been murders. Have people died in the custody? Yes, but something that we touched on earlier is that it's the most populated jail. So we sometimes have some of the sickest people, whether it is physically sick or mental health sick. And, you know, we do our best to make sure that we are keeping everyone safe and getting them the services that they need. But again, we've had no murders. So if I could finish answering, but with that being said, yes, you're right. You know, something that we should have is being very transparent when we have things going on. But I tell you this, I've also heard people who say they don't want to find out in the news or they don't want to find out on social media about their loved ones being going from the jail to the hospital. So some of it, not only is it policies or laws, but some of it is the respect of the family, because the family is the ones who deserve to know first.
I can understand that, but just because a law enforcement person, someone loses their life at the hands of someone in law enforcement, I still consider it murder. No. And I appreciate your characterization, but it's murder any way you look at it.
Thank you, sir. We'll give you the last word.
Thank you. So, I mean, you know, they're still kind of an evasive answer, no direct, here's what we're doing to prevent that type deal. So it's a concern for me because it's still under this same administration. And unfortunately, as you say, see there, Mrs. Commander Witt, Major Witt says that she is in charge of the jail. She kind of sets policy inside the jail. And hearing from her mouth that the biggest concern is whether or not the family wants to be told first versus being clear on exactly what happened to their loved one. That's that transparency piece that we still continue not to have. And as the gentleman said, that is the biggest concern. What happened to the people there? Now, we never got a chance to find out if his loved one was actually someone affected. But he made a valid point. It stuck with me, so I decided we should at least do a little part on talking about what's happening with people's family members inside this jail.
Absolutely. Again, you know, we know Major Witt. I think she's a fabulous person, hands down. And I'll say this, you know, as you know, the campaign manager, if you will, for Mr. Banks. You know, either way, I think Hennepin County, you know, will have a good person, you know, in that position. However, with that being said, maybe I'm a little biased, maybe I'm not, but I do believe that the Joseph Banks campaign has a more has a better plan, has a more transparent plan, has a plan that involves you, the community, in order for us to truly be able to get a handle, you know, on what's being done within Hennepin County, you know, and even abroad, because again, you know, Hennepin County is the biggest county. Mm-hmm. You know, we do have the biggest county jail, and yes, we will have various incidents and issues that will occur, excuse me, in the jail. But like Joseph said, you know, some time ago in one of his community conversations, you know, we need to start addressing on how or why these individuals are doing what they're doing to end up in jail or end up in police custody or even end up having contact with the police to begin with, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And this is why, you know, we will have, you know, that community piece that will be heavily involved. So then therefore you will be seeing individuals like myself and I'm sure others that Mr. Banks will put in place to get out here, to these various communities and listen to what's going on. Work with the city, the various 36 or 37 agencies, 36 agencies within Hennepin County. The mayors, city councils, and whomever else, that we need to work with. In addition, and most importantly, communities throughout the county, to make sure that we have a handle and a full understanding to ensure that you are receiving the necessary services that you deserve and desire, whether you're, in custody or not, just being a community member. You still deserve to make sure that you are receiving the quality of service that you need. And it's not only necessarily, services from law enforcement, it's other services that tie into this, that he will have an impact, on that outcome to ensure that these things are being disseminated appropriately.
Yes, and so we definitely want to make sure that folks understand that we intend to get inside the jail, take a deep look into what's really been happening there, and hold folks accountable. As you can see here, the DOC has cited the jail more than 6 times. There's been deaths, there's been falsified of records, and no one really held accountable. And it's like I said, as early as this past July, we got another death, even though we're saying that the death was most likely caused by the person in withdrawal. It still begs for concern why we continue to have deaths in the jail with no real understanding of what happened and no clarity as to how things happen this way. So, when I look back in some of these conversations that we've had throughout the year in this campaign, it's always been about transparency, accountability, and we have to have that transparency. The transparency piece is so important because that is how we got to the situation with George Floyd. That's how we ended up having the city of Minneapolis in flames, and that behavior affected the entire country because people were tired of seeing incidents of wrongdoing at the hands of law enforcement and having no resolve, right? In fact, in the last couple years, things have been kind of out of control, and we even heard that in one of Commander Witt's videos. Can we cue that up?
And what was it?
Do I gotta say Major Witt or do I say Major?
Witt.
Okay, Major Witt. Can you just tell us a little bit what you got going on right now?
Yeah.
I know you're running for,
Yeah, well, currently I am the major at the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. I see our 2 largest divisions there, which is courts and the jail. That consists of nearly 500 employees and a $65 million budget. And right now I am running to be the next sheriff of Hennepin County.
Okay. So Major is a position right under sheriff?
Nope. So our hierarchy is sheriff, then there's a chief deputy, and then the majors are right under the chief. And there's 4 of us at Hennepin County.
Okay, so you jump in the ladder a little bit if you was to win. You
Yes.
jump in the ladder.
It'd be the number 1 spot. Yes.
Okay. What made you run? What?
Well, I've been in this line of work for over 22 years. I was a person who never saw myself in law enforcement. I'm also the person who never sat back and just complained. I'm a doer. Mm-hmm. As I progressed in my law enforcement career and then again at the current position of major, things happened within the sheriff's office. And the last 2.5 years, as you know, Minneapolis, Hennepin County as a whole, things have been out of hand. I know that I have the experience, the education, the common sense to lead that agency, the largest sheriff's office in the state at that. So.
All right. So as you can see right there, Major Witt is even saying, that in the last couple of years, things have just been out of control. Now, that is nothing that we take away to make her a bad person. That's just simply saying that, yeah, things have been out of control, and it is time for a change of way things have been done. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
And so we can't no longer allow things to be out of control, and those changes need to be made now.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I wish I would have kind of heard a little bit more in regards to what policies that she's stating that she is, basically the major. She's over, 500 staff, and she oversees stuff, So I would like to see or hear, what are those policies, and procedures that she's putting in place, to ensure, that people are being held accountable. Again, that she's just being forthcoming, with the necessary information. And if and when someone does, something that is not appealing to, the public, if you will, that she's going to take the necessary action, to make sure that doesn't happen again, or put something in place. So then, therefore, if it does happen again, that, things are going to be dealt with accordingly is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, I think, I do like the fact that at least she's able to admit that things are kind of out of control. I guess what is that first step of healing it is at least admitting it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that we can definitely move into this next administration to change things for the better. I think that we're going to have to do some hard work, of course, to beat back some years of things being out of control. But I believe that under my leadership as the sheriff in Hennepin County, that we'll be able to accomplish those things, and we will hold folks accountable, and we will set policies in place to make a difference in the community to keep people safe. We got a couple questions up here.
No, that's they're basically just stating that
Yeah.
That they've been looking, are the people who work with us behind the scenes, if you will, kind of does a lot of fact checking for us, and we greatly appreciate them. But they've been looking for any type of new policies or plans and things of that nature, and there basically kind of is none that we can kind of find at this point in time in regards to the way that certain things are being handled in the jail at this point in time.
If you guys want the total clarity, the only thing I found was something that was that they hired a dedicated officer to oversee that the welfare checks were being done, but then there were just more violations right after that guy was hired. So
What's this next question here?
Yeah, question is what is your first step to bridge the gap in communication between the police department and our community to ensure the community feels?
I think that cuts off the question. I'll grab it from the website directly. Let's see.
And that's from
I got it right here. It says, to ensure the community feels heard within our departments.
Okay. So the person is basically asking, how can we get people to realize that we have a voice and that we want to be heard? We're going to be putting on a website that will allow people to actually interact with the sheriff's department to clear up some of those questions, because I did notice a few folks even saying that they didn't see a place to file a formal complaint at the sheriff's website. And so I do want people to understand that you have the right to file a complaint against an officer in your community if you feel like the officer has violated the law or done something to harm you personally. That is something that we're definitely looking at. And again, that runs right into my software that we're trying to get up and going, which would allow us to be able to track officers in real time in terms of behavioral issues. So this is a very good question, and we want to thank you for your answer, Mr. Kendra White.
Absolutely. And I will say this here is a lot of officers, will say, man, you're going to be coming in, trying to micromanage, you're going to be coming in, trying to change all this stuff, and I've been doing this for, 10, 15 years plus, kind of like, who are you to kind of, as an outsider, you ain't never, worked in a county jail and all this other type of stuff. What, is going to be, because I can guarantee you, I'll bet you lunch right now, you know what I'm saying, that when you get in that spot, there's going to be a handful of individuals that jail that's not going to want to go along with the Joseph Banks program.
Oh yeah, we anticipate that. Remember, it's not just the jail; it's the county, the state as a whole. Here's what you'll find, and I don't know if you guys have did any digging into it, but more people will tell you that we found a way to do more with less all of this time. Why change it? Why do we need more officers? Why do we need more deputies? Why do you think we need to have more accountability and more transparency? That is exactly the problem, because we don't have it does not make it right, right? We need to have more deputies in place so that when situations like in Minneapolis arise, we can respond properly, right? We can assist them by helping them with more visible patrols, because they'll have the manpower to ask for that mutual aid from the sheriff department, right? And we'll be able to have officers in the city that reflect the community and get a better response from the people in which we serve. So that is exactly why we have to be willing to comb through this a little bit at a time, to weed out those bad apples, to enforce that new policy, and make sure that all of us are on the same page.
So you're saying that that the city of Minneapolis wouldn't have to write Hennepin County a $4 or $5+ million check in order for you to go out there and help police?
No, they would not, because Minneapolis sits in the county of Hennepin. Yeah, I mean, it's important, but we have to make sure that that's clear. That just is not clear. I can't tell you how many people say, well, man, I thought the Minneapolis police ran everything. And they do run the city of Minneapolis. They do. However, the sheriff still has the say, kind of, to make sure that Minneapolis is in compliance, right? And so we're not looking to take over Minneapolis, but what we are looking to make sure is that the police officers are in compliance with what the state requirements are and the state laws. And so it is incumbent upon the sheriff to go in those cities and make sure that we're holding our officers accountable to that standard.
Absolutely. Well, there kind of seems to be a misunderstanding or just a lack of knowledge, or whatever the case may be, and how the sheriff oversees the other entities or agencies within the county, which that seems to bring a lack of transparency, and trust and things of that nature, which runs right into the next question that's up on the screen, is what can you do to increase transparency and build trust within communities?
Exactly. And so that's a good question. And the answer that I have is that, listen, we're going to be putting together a software in place that's going to track officer accountability, both good and bad. We're going to be attaching a deputy to each one of those 36 police departments to make sure we're getting that information in real time. We're going to make that information available to the community in real time. Any incidents where we have to have use of force reviews are going to be reviewed by both a civilian and law enforcement committee, and then those findings sent to the post board for a final decision on their part. So it's all about working into the community, getting the community involved, giving them some say, allowing them to see exactly what's happening with these officers, and working with the community to weed out any bad ones.
Absolutely. Well, brother, this has been a fabulous show up to this point, and we're going to get right back to Mr. Charles here and his question. But, we're just a little bit over that halfway mark, you know what I'm saying? And we got to hit him with that backpack and a couple other housekeeping things. Mr. Charles, we'll be right back with you.
That's right. That backpack consists of making sure you got your driver's license and insurance with you before you get in that vehicle. Make sure you place them above the visor so they can be easily accessible in case you get stopped by law enforcement and won't be confused for a weapon. Remember to stay calm, keep your hands where they can be seen, allow the officer to go through his spiel, and as always, make it home to your loved ones. Same thing if you're walking down the street, make sure you got your ID or driver's license where it's easily accessible. Stay calm, keep your hands where they can be seen, let the officer go through his spiel, and as always, 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 make it home to your loved ones.
Absolutely. And again, remember, if you are a licensed permit to carry holder, please let those officers know that you have a permit to carry, and if you have your weapon on you and where that weapon may be, and listen to them as far as what it is that they want you to do. If you're confused and quite not understanding what that might be, repeat it back to them. So then, therefore, there is no furtive movements that they may deem to be aggressive or whatever the case may be, and now we're having a whole totally different type of situation, okay? So please, please, please make sure that you comply. There's, again, as Joe stated earlier, if you feel that you've been wronged in some way, there's a time and a place to do it. And at that particular time is not the time to do it, because it only fuels the fire and would give an officer, if he or she is already doing something inappropriate, it gives them just a little bit more ammunition, if you will, to use against you, right? And all that type of stuff is captured on body cam. So again, if you're being polite and being respectful, et cetera, and he or she is not, it's going to show. And that's only going to help your case as you go through the necessary steps to make sure that that wrong was right. Made right, I should say. But we did have a question from Mr. Charles right before we went to break. If we can put his question back up on the screen. And Mr. Charles is asking, so where is the money going to come from? I guess I'm not 100% certain as far as what money Mr. Charles might be speaking of.
I think for like the program to trace people, or like to follow the cops or something like that, maybe the software that Joe was talking about.
So the sweet part of it is my team and I was in the process of putting together this software to try and track officers' behavior and things of that nature. And we've had it twofold. We've been looking at it from two sides of it, and I'll just be frank with you. We're already talking with folks that are in place. So the Sheriff Department has a program that Major Witt indicated she brought on board called Guardian. In talking with the folks from Guardian, we've learned that we would have the possibility of taking that software county-wide. So for the first time in the history of Hennepin County, we would actually have a uniform way across the board, across the entire county, to track officers' behavior in real time in every city. The unique part of that is that this information is not only accessible to every officer, which means we can get complaints from a fellow patrolman, kind of peer-checking peer deal. They even have the ability to put this information in anonymously. So this software is a good software. I've been digging into it. We're still digging into it. We're still having conversations about it. But this is something that we're trying to really bring on board to create that transparency. And it's not going to cost us that much money.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do know one thing is that, when we get to talking about, counties and the government and the Fed and so on and so forth, a lot of this money is already set aside, for
Yes.
programs to be developed such as this here. I will also take it a step further. If we, let me rephrase that. When we, get inside that position, and we start holding people accountable and things of that nature with these programs and other things that we want to do, you will see that 13 or 14 million dollars or whatever it was that's being spent out, there's a good portion of that we can put back into, such programs. And then therefore we don't necessarily have to raise, taxes on certain stuff or ask, the community for various money for various things and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the caveat of that is that truly the way I'm budgeting it, the county will pick up the cost on implementing the software, and that is to prevent each department from being able to come back and say, I don't have the money, right, to implement this software. I want to make sure that every department, no matter what size it is, has this software so there's no issue of being able to hide behavioral issues within their agency. And looking into this system, there is some early alerts built into it, which is good. And there's some tracking, there's reports, all the good things that we need to hold folks accountable. This will encompass that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, in order for stuff like this to happen, folks, we have to make sure that, we all are doing our homework, on whom is going to be the best person in that position to ensure that your voice is heard, that you will have an input on the outcome, and I'm telling you right now, Banks is that person. His plan is solid. Again, don't take my word for it. Do your homework. Give us a call. Come on down. We'll come to you. And again, it's all about just having natural conversation. You will be able to tell, and a lot of folks can, when someone is feeding you a line of malarkey versus, someone that's being real and genuine with you. And I guarantee you, once you have that conversation, with Mr. Banks, it's not going to be the same old playbook rhetoric that you will hear, throughout law enforcement that has been being played, time and time again over the last, umpteen years. But again, he cannot do this alone. Not voting is voting. So please get that out your head, get that out your mind, throw that out the window when you're thinking about, ain't nothing going to change. They're going to do what they want to do. They just going to treat us the same old way. No.
Exactly. This is really your chance to have a voice, right? I've heard it time and time again from our community members. Well, I don't have that voice. They don't care what we think. This is that time, if you're age 18 or older, for you to go to that poll and make some changes in your community. Now, remember that when we don't get involved, most of these decisions when it comes to the local laws affect us in the communities.
Absolutely.
Right? So be aware of that. Go out and have a voice. Make sure that your community is reflected in you. Make sure that you get involved. Make sure you're knocking on your neighbor's door, checking on your neighbors, getting to know who the people are that live next to you. Talk with your law enforcement about how you can make things better in your community and how you can work with them, right? Because it's not just a police issue. We can't police our way out of it, right? We have to communicate and collaborate our way out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we understand that there's a lot of, black, brown, and indigenous individuals, and even other, cultures that, think, feel, and believe, that it's us against them, or whatever, your mindset is in regards to that. We cannot stress it enough to encourage you to get out there and vote, right? Even if it's not for Joseph Banks, get out there and vote. Have an input on the outcome. But I'm telling you now, this man sitting to my left, and we have been in some very heated conversations among the both of us, or against with other individuals. We have been in some tough situations, out there in the street, providing the necessary services that you deserve and desire to help keeping you safe. Again, call us, contact us, have those conversations. Ask those hard questions, and you will find, that this man sitting to my left is very genuine in what it is, that he's talking about. He's very passionate, and I know that I can sit here and kind of talk you up, all day long. But why is it, that you chose to put yourself out here, and for the world to see, if you will, right? Given the circumstances, that is surrounding law enforcement right now, why would you want to run for Hennepin County Sheriff?
Because I've always taken my oath throughout my career to protect those who couldn't protect themselves, to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves, even going back to the military, explorers, Boy Scouts. It's been all about making sure that people were cared for. The people around me were cared for. And there has been so much lack of accountability and wrongdoing within our organizations that we have to stand up and say no more. Law enforcement serves a great purpose when it's done properly. right? It's there to keep people safe, to guard against people's rights and liberties in our cities and country. And when we do it the right way, it's a beautiful thing. But when we get it wrong, we need to be able to admit it. We need to be able to fix it so that wrong doesn't happen again. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of the people that we're supposed to be serving. That's why I'm running it, because I care about the people, and I cannot stand by and allow the people to be wronged on my watch.
Right. Well, I honestly, I don't even know what more, I can, really say after that, other than, again, don't forget to vote November 8th. Leave yourself enough time if you're going to go out and do absentee ballot voting, which has already started. Again, the mail and stuff like that there is not running as quickly as it once was. So leave yourself enough time. Please, please, please. I'm going to just kind of switch gears here, just a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think that we have beat the horse a little bit, if you will. But again, it's things that obviously the people want to know.
Right.
People need to know, right? But just kind of sliding just a little bit because, we still had, that unfortunate 71st homicide, in the city of Minneapolis, where a young man was, bouncing and just doing his job, doing his due diligence, again, to make sure that the community, was safe. And unfortunately, some individual got upset because he couldn't get in or whatever the situation may be. But whatever that situation was, I can guarantee you it did not need to rise to the level of that young man, losing his life. And we want to make sure that we pay, respects to that young man and his family and friends, his co-workers, and now, individuals in that community, can't even go to that spot right now, because it's kind of closed, and I don't know if it's going to be closed for good or whatever, but they can't even go there to enjoy, a meal or beverage of some sort, because of one person's actions, and these are the type of things that we have to stand up and say no more. And again, my family, Mr. Banks' family, and we know a host of others, Brother KG's family has been impacted by gun violence. And again, we just have to make sure that we stand up together and make sure that we put a stop, to this here. We have a question from what is her name?
I can read it back here too, just because this is a long one.
No, what's her name?
Satina Ray Erickson.
Okay, and the question is I wish I could vote for you, but I'm still on felony probation. But I'm going to do good and never want to go back to the Hennepin County Jail. And it says B. Did she get cut off or something?
Yeah, so
okay.
It's a long one. That's what I was saying. So it says, because of the way they handled my medical treatment. So by next October, I will have my voting rights back at least, but I will share with others to vote for you. So that's all. It was a nice statement. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well,
we appreciate
what?
that.
I personally, and I'm not even running, but I want to personally thank you, for honestly, for you being as courageous as you are, to come on here and be able to share with everyone, the situation that you're in. That's not an easy thing to do. But we also want to make to wish you well, to ensure that you do right and you stay right, and if there's anything that we can do to help with that, contact us. We will definitely provide phone numbers and emails and stuff like that there. And if there's any services that you need, we can definitely help you try to find those. So again, blessings and best wishes to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for being vulnerable. Like I say, it's important that people understand that, we want to have people working in the jail that want to be there, right? They really want to help people. folks come through that jail, they're already in crises. Of course, they're going to sometimes be a little uncooperative, but they're not necessarily angry with you as much as in some cases they're just angry at the situation that they're in.
Absolutely.
And so you have to do your best to remember that people are upset. They're having a bad day. I don't know anybody that's happy to go to jail. So do your best to treat them with dignity and respect as best you can. And even when they go crazy on you or flip out on you, do what you need to keep them safe, to maintain control, and always do your best to show them that dignity.
Absolutely, because again, as you stated earlier, they may not be mad at you per se. Of course, they're not happy about going to jail, but they're also not even happy about how they got to where they're at, because there was definitely a process for them to get from point A to point B to point C, to end up having contact with the police, and then also being taken to jail.
Yes.
But
yes.
Again, brother, we're kind of getting down, to the end of another fabulous show. We want to thank all of our listening and viewing audience. We want to thank those who've chimed in. And we want to wish all of you guys well. Those who have lost loved ones, we again want to extend, our condolences to you and your families. There was another 5-year-old child that was shot and killed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or was it Madison, Wisconsin? I think it was Madison. I can't remember. But anyway, there was a baby, that has lost, their life, to senseless gun violence. I don't know all of the particulars, but again, this type of stuff is impacting us, throughout the country, and it just has to stop. And even though that Joseph Banks will be the sheriff for Hennepin County, we will definitely be at those tables, with other individuals outside of the state, even, to ensure that, we're sharing, our model, with them, and maybe even receiving something, from them as well. Again, it's going to take all of us together to bring unity and unison, in order to curb some of this violence that we are seeing out here. Again, this is Let's Talk About It. We've had another fabulous show. Joe's seeking candidacy for Hennepin County Sheriff. My name's Antoine Beeks. I have a security company, WSC Protective Agency. Please feel free to give me a call for any questions and all of your safety and security needs. 612-978-6066. You can also visit us at westportsecurity.net or email me at abeeks@westport-mn.com. I am also a firearms instructor. So anyone that's looking for gun classes, we do familiarizational classes for those with little or no shooting experience, to permit to carry, and also recertification. Please feel free to reach out to me at 612-702-9849. Again, 612-702-9849, and I can help you out with that as well. Joe.
Yes. Again, thank you guys for joining us again on this show. It's always a pleasure to get on here and talk to you guys about the concerns in the community. I was very happy to be able to address that young man's concern from Richfield with the concern over the deaths in the jail. And so hopefully that brought a lot of attention and insight to those folks who had the same feelings and emotions inside. Hopefully we're able to answer some of those questions. Again, it is an effort always to make sure that your voice is heard here in the community. This is why we do this show, to make sure that those issues that you have are able to get addressed. It's been so great being out in the community, getting to see all the people, shaking hands, talking to them, addressing their concerns. I love this campaign. I'm so excited about it. It is really revved up. It's great to see people's smiles when I'm coming into their communities. Uniquely enough, they tell me that it's refreshing my style. My style is simply, listen, this is going to be different. I am shaking things up a little bit because we're not doing things the same way that they have been done. We're not going to do things the same way they have been done. We're definitely going to hold folks accountable, and we're definitely going to have transparency, and most importantly, we're definitely going to include you, the community, in our decision-making process when it comes to keeping the county safe. So with that being said, I'm going to hit you one more time with that backpack.
Yes, sir.
All right. And just before that, like B said, you can reach me at banksforsheriff.com. That's BANKS, the number 4 sheriff.com. Or you can reach me at joelawman@hotmail.com. That's JOELAWMAN@hotmail.com. Or you can reach me at 763-221-4724. That's 763-221-4724. As you know, this is a grassroots campaign, and so we want you to help out with some donations to get those flyers out, get the word out, come out, volunteer, knock on door, hand out street signs, the whole nine. But most importantly, be a part of this historical movement to keep Hennepin County safe.
Absolutely.
Now, here comes that backpack.
That backpack.
Right. That backpack consists of making sure you get your driver's license and insurance due before you get in that vehicle. Make sure you place them above the visor so they're easily accessible. Make sure that you stay calm when talking to the officer, allow him to go to his spiel, and as always, making home your loved one. Same thing when you're walking down the street. Make sure you have your driver's license or ID with you so it's easily accessible. Make sure you keep your hands where they can be seen. Stay calm. Allow the officer to go through his spiel, tell you why he stopped you, all those good things. The most important thing is to get home to your loved ones.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the comments, guys. Remember to keep checking us out on the webpage. Get involved. And most importantly, remember, when you go to that poll come November 8th, we want you to push that button that says Joe Banks for Hennepin County Sheriff. And the moment that you do that, you'll begin to see the change in beautiful Hennepin County, and we'll know that we're going to all be safe together.
Absolutely.
Look at that.
Well, I want to just say one more thing before we leave here, is that in addition to making sure that backpack and your ID and things of that nature, the increase for those applying for and also receiving permits to carry has increased, over 35%. Right, over the last year. So again, there's a lot more individuals out there that are obtaining firearms and stuff like that there, but you're also, potentially being contacted by the police. So you want to make sure that if you are stopped or come in contact with law enforcement, that you are sharing with them that you are a licensed permit to carry holder and what type of weapon you have, where it's at. Listen to what he or she has to say. Please repeat it back to them. So then, therefore, there's no questions on exactly what it is that they want you to do to make sure that you make it home to your loved ones.
Yes. And wrapping it up here, we're going to go ahead and say, make sure that if you want to be the police, that you're applying for those jobs in your area. Make sure you apply to be a deputy. And most importantly, I'm going to challenge you today to go out this week and adopt yourself a cop, right? Get to know who the police are in your community, shock them, walk up on them with a big smile, introduce yourself, say hi, my name is so-and-so, ask them if they're having a great day, maybe even give them something sweet to eat on or snack on or a nice cool drink to drink.
I do want to say this, and there's always seems like there's something else that's coming up. I do want to say this, though. Our holidays is right around the corner, okay? Our holidays is right around the corner. There's a lot of individuals that are out there that do not have as much. You think your situation's bad. There's always someone that has a situation that's just a little bit worse than yours, right? Please, check on your friends, check on your family, check on your neighbors, give just a little bit extra if you can. In those of need and so on and so forth. But it is important because there's so many individuals out here that when holiday seasons come around, they get just a little bit more depressed. They have just a little bit more anxiety. And these things really start to impact them, in a way to where they start doing things that's just a little bit more not normal for them, right? And again, that type of stuff can impact various communities. And this is how, this is just one of the ways on how we will begin to heal as far as preventing, these type of things happening. An act of kindness, is can go a long way.
Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Alrighty, guys. So with that being said, it's been another wonderful show. Thanks for joining us again. And we'll see you here next week at 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Let's Talk About It. My name's Joe Banks.
And I'm Antoine Beeks.
And we just talked about it.
Peace.